The rain has stopped. We're getting a better look at the aftermath of this historic flooding. We can notice structural damages, road damages, but what about what you can't see? We're talking the mental damage caused by these storms. Joining us now is Taurus Sanders, a licensed professional counselor here across the Midlands. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You know, right before the break, we had some breaking news. There are officials with SCEMD urging folks who live near Beaver Dam to evacuate, to get away. On the mental aspect of things, how can you address the mental aspect of people right now being told to leave everything they have?
Well, the most important thing right now is to get in a safe place, you know, get physical shelter out of the situation of danger or harm. And that way you can start to figure out a game plan, making some logical decisions when you know that your safety is not being compromised or is at risk right now.
So with something as tragic as this flooding, we've seen like every day the death toll keeps rising and rising. You know, more people are being found dead. What do friends and families look for when we talk about the mental health of someone who's gone through something tragic like this flood?
Well, you know, one of the most common signs is social withdrawal or isolation, you know, due to depression or feeling hopeless or helpless in situations like this. And the easiest thing to do for friends and family is just ask, you know, are you okay? What can I do to help you? To kind of get the conversation going. And sometimes people aren't ready to talk about what they're feeling or what they're thinking at the moment. And, you know, patience is a good, you know, virtue to have in this as well.
How long should you wait for that? Because we know so many times somebody might be really going through something and you don't want to press the issue, but you do want to press the issue.
Right.
As a licensed therapist, you know, what would you say if I had to do something like that?
Well, you know, every situation is a little different, but I think the signs and symptoms are, you know, more obvious, you know, in terms of how the expression, how the body language is. And if you notice something, just ask. I mean, that doesn't hurt. And if they say, you know, I don't want to talk about it, then just be respectful of that. But, you know, sometimes people look for the door to be opened in order for them to open up and say, okay, I feel like I can talk, or somebody's willing to listen to me. You know, that's very important, you know, being empathetic and being understanding, not being critical or judgmental. And those are good things, you know, to do for family and friends that have, you know, that have been impacted and still being impacted by this.
And good thing you mentioned about not being critical or judgmental, because for some people, they could go back to their houses and say, my wedding album is gone, my business is gone. What do you tell that person really quick? We have about 30 seconds left. What do you tell them?
Well, you know, easier said than done. You know, don't focus on the material things. Really focus on your safety, your life, your friends and family and their safety. You know, material things to some extent can be replaced. You know, pictures and memorabilia and family items, you know, some of those things may be lost. But at the same time, if you have your family together, you know, those memories can be recreated. So I really focus on, you know, on the here and now and focusing on the loved ones that you have with you and that they're safe.
All right, so Taurus Sanders, thank you so much. You'll be standing by because after the break, coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, we'll be talking to you again about some more things. Folks, today Columbia time right now is 7:38, and of course, last hour we had a chance to speak with Taurus Sanders, he's standing by with us now, a licensed professional counselor. We were talking about having to deal with the mental side of flooding. You know, when folks go back to their homes, they see their homes are gone, family items are now destroyed. But now we want to talk about the first responders. Taurus, if a family member of a police officer or first responder is watching, how do they cope with their loved one being in the line of, you know, disaster?
You know, it's a great sacrifice to be married or in a relationship, a family member with the first responder, be it fireman, police officer, military. It's a great sacrifice. So, you know, there's the fear of danger, obviously, that comes along with, especially with these situations. But then there's also, you know, the time loss, you know, having the loved one being at work extra hours and being away from family. So support is really the most important thing in terms of understanding that this is, you know, duty calls, and in this situation, being a state of emergency, there are some extra demands that come with it.
And you know, your background, you do have some law enforcement background. If you can, kind of tell us a little bit how do law enforcement agents cope with dealing with stuff like this? Do they have to suppress feelings to help and save and rescue somebody and then deal with their feelings later?
Well, you know, first responders deal with things differently, and A lot of times, you know, they're really kind of putting their feelings and emotions aside, and they're just focused on the task at hand. Sometimes they deal with it later on, or if they can, or sometimes they don't at all, suppress it or just try to forget about it. Oftentimes, you know, stress, it really takes a toll on your mind, your body, and you have to deal with that appropriately. And sometimes that does take a negative toll on first responders.
So from your perspective, what would you tell somebody who's a first responder? How would you, I don't want to say treat them or anything, but what would you tell them? Give them some advice of how to cope with all that they're seeing right now.
Well, you know, there's really no way to kind of comprehend exactly what's going on in terms of a natural disaster. But, you know, just focusing on, you know, being effective and being needed at the time, you know, seeing the positive side of the devastation, unfortunately.
Saving lives.
And saving lives and you know, getting people to safety and supporting them, because people are, you know, unfortunately they're scared, they're worried, they don't know what their future looks like.
Absolutely.
And just having someone say, I'm here to help you, however that may be. Something as simple as saying, you know, do you need water, do you need food, or whatever assistance you need, it really goes a long way.
Wow. Tara Sanders, thank you so much for being here. We
Thank
really
you.
do appreciate it.